We were looking earlier at how a motorbike just quite inherently wants to stay upright when it's moving. But now we just want to think a little bit about how a motorcycle turns. How do you make a motorcycle turn, particularly at speed and without using the handlebars? Well, that's it. You lean the bike, yeah. And as a motorcycle leans, it turns. And we looked earlier, didn't we, in the earlier segment about how when you lean the bike, the front wheel naturally turns in the direction that you're leaning in. But there is another major reason why a motorbike turns when it leans, and that is to do with the profile of the tyres. Now, what's the difference between a car tyre and a motorcycle tyre? Exactly. A car tyre is flat and a motorcycle tyre is rounded. And what that means is that on a motorcycle tyre, the circumference in the centre of the tyre is much larger than the circumference on the edges. So what that means is if you lean the tyre over, it will naturally turn. So for example, if you keep a tyre straight, it goes in a straight line. But if you lean the tyre, the inner edge has to travel a lot further. It will turn a lot quicker than the outer edge, and it will just naturally. Here's one I did earlier. Let's try again. You need a heavier. It's the surface. There we go. Eventually. So basically, yeah, if you lean the bike to the left, the profile of the tyres mean that the bike will naturally want to turn to the left and vice versa. So here we go. There's the helicopter. Okay, we may well be starting up again soon. So what that means is that the profile of the tyres in conjunction with the steering geometry makes the bike turn as soon as it's leaned over. And when a bike leans, it automatically corners. But if we really want to make the most of this and effectively and efficiently get round a corner, what we need to do is perform a balancing act between all the forces that are at work. So what we already know is that when a bike is upright, the centre of gravity is above the contact patch. But when you lean, the centre of gravity isn't underneath the contact patch. So there is a gravitational force and counter force pulling the bike to the ground. What's good though is obviously when we're going at speed, we get some sideways forces. We get a centrifugal force that's pushing that way. We get a centripetal force that is working on the contact patch, pulling this way. And when we keep a constant speed and the correct lean angle, then these will be in balance. So actually all these forces are balanced so that if you keep a constant speed, the bike will turn in a perfect circle, as long as we don't interfere with it. But it's a case of balancing these different forces. And again, what we find is that the gyroscopic precession of the wheels can be our friend as well. So let's just get this spinning again. So actually, if you lean to go around a corner, the wheel will stay at that angle. So whatever angle you lean it, again, the gyroscopic force will sit there. So once I've made it lean, it will stay there. And again, what you're doing is just using the forces that are work to help you efficiently and effectively corner the bike. So how do we get from this balanced position where the bike is upright to the lean angle to get round the corner? Well, we can do it by trying to shift our body weight. We can try and use the force, but the most efficient and effective way of getting a bike to lean over is by using what's called positive steering, isn't it? Have you heard of positive counter steering? Yeah. I mean, essentially, that is where you are pushing left to turn left, and you're pushing the handlebar forward right to turn right. And interestingly, what that's actually doing with the contact patch is when you turn left, that's kicking the contact patch out like that, and then you're leaning to go round to the left, and vice versa. If you push like that, that puts the contact patch out like that, and then you're leaning in the right way to go right. So again, you know, this will be explained a little bit more later on when we do some exercises with positive steering. But what we need to do is use all the forces that are at work to our benefit, and to make sure that when we get them in balance, that we use them, and then we are effectively and efficiently turning our bikes around. Any questions on that? Any thoughts, any comments? No? Good. Okay, I shall now hand over.
Sorry.
Yes.
What about the positive throttle?
Yeah, I mean, that you're absolutely right, and that is about that's a technique you would use for effectively cornering. We don't really necessarily cover that too much today, but you're absolutely right that when you lean a bike on a corner, the bike will naturally slow down. Again, because of the profile of the tyres, and so just by putting that tiny bit of positive throttle, just a tiny little squeeze, that will help maintain your speed around the corner. Yeah. But today, for the exercises that we're doing, we're not actually going to need to sort of, we won't be doing any kind of cornering where that will